Welcome to PACKOLUTION. In this podcast series, you'll hear the experts of the packaging industry talking about sustainability and the future of packaging. It is brought to you by Watron and hosted by one of its founders, Michaela Wachtel, and Sales Director Ton Kniepscher.
Welcome to another episode of PACKOLUTION, the disruptive podcast brought to you by Watron. Today we have Cory Connors, Director of Sustainable Packaging at Aurora Packaging Solutions, as our guest. Cory is also a professor at the Packaging School, but he's mostly known for founding and hosting the Sustainable Packaging podcast. He's got 88,000 followers on TikTok and almost 17,000 on LinkedIn. Wow. He will share his extensive knowledge about sustainable packaging with us. Welcome, Cory.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here.
You told us that your career in packaging started as a teenager in a boxing factory, and now you have your own podcast. It sounds amazing. Your career path really is exciting. How did it progress?
Yeah, thank you. I kind of fell into that job. I started when I was 18. I wasn't ready for college. I knew I wouldn't use my time wisely there. I wasn't just mentally ready for college. So I thought I'd go work for a year, do something difficult and challenging. And I found a box at a warehouser, corrugated box mill. So we had a full-on production from paper all the way to finished corrugated goods. And that was, unbeknownst to me, my start in my long-time career of 26 years. So I paid my way through college studying advertising, which I've learned is very much a part of packaging.
Yes. And I can confirm that.
Yeah, when I graduated college, there were no jobs in the career field that I was hoping for, which was advertising and marketing. But I went to a career fair at my school, and there was a packaging company. And I thought, oh, I know about packaging. I can try that for a little bit. And 21 years later, I'm still here at what we call Aurora now, but it's was originally Kent H. Landsberg Company, which was founded by Mr. Landsberg himself.
And what does Aurora Packaging do?
Global packaging company, about a $5 billion company based out of Melbourne, Australia. Okay. And the part I work for is the Landsberg Aurora, which is the North American distribution arm. We have about 70 locations here in North America, and we provide all kinds of packaging from retail to industrial, anything people need except for hazardous material packaging.
And in that field, you take care of the sustainable side of it.
Yes, I'm really a scout for new sustainable packaging materials and ideas, and constantly on the lookout for new partnerships that we can form to help our customers be more sustainable. That's our goal, is to really improve that possibility for our customers and give them all the newest and latest options.
Exciting times.
And Ton already mentioned in the introduction that you have gathered thousands of followers on social media with whom you share infos about sustainability and the packaging world. Obviously, the interest is there, given the size of your network. So how has interest in the sustainability topic developed in recent years, and how are people's mindsets changing?
Great question. I think it's changed a lot, and that's good news. 20 years ago, nobody wanted to talk about sustainability. They used to call it green or environmentally friendly. And it was something that people wanted to do, but it was always more expensive, is how it seemed. So people weren't ready to commit the dollars to that idea, because it just wasn't the main primary focus of their customers. But now that has really shifted. When I started making TikTok videos, it was just before the COVID pandemic. And, people were interested, but then when the pandemic hit, it really took off. And like you said, the follower count skyrocketed because many people were starting their own companies, and they wanted to learn how to be sustainable in those companies, how to ship their product that they invented or their thing that they're passionate about in a more sustainable material. And so my content became very valuable to that community. And it was a really cool community, and it still is. I enjoy TikTok. And then that turned into LinkedIn. I was invited as one of 100 for the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program. And that was an amazing experience. They showed us how to use LinkedIn and how to really network the right way. And now that's turned into the podcast. My friends Adam Peake and Avelio Matos asked me to start this podcast because they both had podcasts and they thought we should have 3. And then that turned into LinkedIn asking me to be part of their podcast academy, one of 19 podcasts in the country. So another shout out to LinkedIn for their network and their training. Really appreciate it.
And through to the work you do, but also the podcast, you must have a perfect overview of the latest initiatives in the US, but also in Australia, I suppose. Can you tell us something about the innovations in the packaging world and perhaps give us a prediction if these could be or will be successful?
I just got done judging the Packaging Europe Sustainability Awards. As you can see by those innovative ideas, there are some really exciting concepts coming out. And some of these have been in the works for many years. I actually had interviewed several of these companies over a year ago on my podcast, and now it's exciting to see them really being successful with their innovative concepts. One of the ideas that I really like is reuse. I think reusable packaging is absolutely going to be a larger part of our world, and people are a little bit resistant sometimes, but then when they see the end result, I think they will get on board with the concept and appreciate the elimination of a lot of packaging waste.
Yeah, I agree. And especially if you then also give a monetary advantage to the consumer who takes part of that, that'll be very helpful as well.
Well said. People will vote with their wallets.
Yeah, exactly.
Through your podcast, you also have a good overview of all the hot topics worldwide. You just mentioned reuse of material. What other positive influences or great innovations do you see?
I'm enjoying the trend towards mono materials. It used to be a thing where packaging people would glue or adhere foam to paper or plastic to corrugated, and it became impossible to recycle that without significant work that probably just wouldn't happen. So what I'm seeing is a shift towards monomaterial and some really exciting innovations in corrugated and paper technologies like Scotch cushion lock as a replacement for plastic bubble that's made from 100% recycled paper and as a direct replacement for small plastic bubble. It's really innovative, takes up a lot less room in a warehouse. With bubble, we were shipping air to each other. And if you look at this item in particular, the Scotch cushion lock, 1 truckload of this material equals 10 truckloads of the equivalent plastic bubble.
It's amazing.
Just think about that, the elimination of freight, the elimination of storage in your warehouse. It's incredible.
And what do you think about the bio-based materials and the biodegradable materials? Of course, you need to separate these two, but what is your opinion on those?
So compostable materials are absolutely going to be a part of the future of packaging. I really like them in the food space. That makes a lot of sense there. I got to listen to Rhodes Jepsen speak several times now. Bio-based materials make a lot of sense to me. We're not pulling out fossil fuels out of our world to make them, but it's going to require a lot of consumer education. And frankly, a lot of professional packaging education as well, because it's a totally different way of dealing with the end of life for that packaging material, if it's truly going to be composted. Now, I really think that eventually we'll figure out a way to recycle that. And it might have to be in its own stream, but I think that's very possible. And I'm excited for that possibility.
Yeah, in Europe, we have the big debate whether it's industry composted or home composting. Right. That's a big difference as well.
Huge difference. And I'm excited that you mentioned that because that's such a large part of this issue is education and putting it right on the package of, okay, this can go in your backyard or your garden, as you call it in Europe, or this needs to go into your industrial compost bin.
So how do the plans for sustainability in packaging compare between, let's say, the US and Europe or other regions such as Asia? How can multinationals handle these multiple approaches?
Yeah, really important topic. When I was in Paris for Paris Packaging Week in January, I learned a lot and saw a huge shift in sustainability in packaging. For example, in Europe, you recycle 79% of your glass. In the US, we're just under 40%. So, in my opinion, Europe is far ahead of North America in many ways. When it comes to sustainability and packaging. So we are, as Americans, taking a lot of cues from Europe, and we thank you for your efforts and for trying and failing and trying again. And I think that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to continue to try new things and work hard to discover new ways of doing things that are more sustainable.
And do you see a differentiation inside the US, like California versus the Midwest?
Yes. And that's one of the problems. We have 50 states, and those 50 states can do what they want independently. And it's our system. And it's good for many things, but for this, and we need to really work together as a world to identify systems that will work for everyone so that we can standardize this. And I think that's the word I keep hearing is standardize. Yeah. I think you're going to start to see that with extended producer responsibility laws coming out in California, in Oregon, in Colorado, in Maine. What's going to happen is the country is going to say, okay, this one's the most strict. Let's all do that, because we don't want to have packaging that's only good in Montana or only good in Oregon. That doesn't make sense for a company. It's already difficult enough to have bilingual and trilingual packaging for different countries, and even more in Europe, I know.
Sure. But, trust me.
Yeah.
9 different languages sometimes on a pack. The other thing is in Europe, of course, you have a mandatory letter font as well. So you're not allowed to sort of squeeze it to, okay, I got 10 languages on the label, but I can't read it anymore. So now you really have to make it readable. I think it's font 12 or something to be able to read it.
And I think you'll see a lot of QR codes and, websites in lieu of that moving forward. I got to interview the team from Nivea, and they were talking about that, how they're eliminating a lot of their instruction manuals with QR code and scannable websites, and really cool concept.
That really leads us to our next question already. We're talking about laws and the EU, because in the EU, we have federal laws coming that embed the sustainability goals. So what about the legislation in the US?
Yes, same issues, same confusion, same frustration. I'm hearing a lot of concerns. The knee-jerk reaction is, okay, we're going to do this. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate plastic by this year. Well, if we do that, there'll be a lot of rotten food in the world because we're not ready to replace it yet. We don't have a new alternative for everything. So we need to take baby steps, and some of them will be aggressive. Some of the changes, like we were talking about before, a change to reusable and refillable, those are aggressive changes and exciting innovations. But one of the things that I really like to see is the Truth in Labeling Act that's coming through. And I know in Europe, they have the same laws that are taking effect where you can't just make a claim on a package, or a company can't say, we're going to be this by 2030. It doesn't matter. What we want to know is what you're doing today and what real changes have already been made.
It's like the confusing logos that some companies put on their label, just saying suggesting how recyclable they are or how sustainable they are, whilst it doesn't mean anything. It's not even an official logo.
Yeah, it's the old green leaf, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? Nobody knows. They assume it means it's recyclable. And what these companies that are using those kinds of logos are doing is they're really messing up our recycling facilities. And causing a lot more work for those people that are working so hard to sort our waste into usable products.
It's a good point, very valid point, which you just touched on as to food, rotten food. 30% of food already doesn't reach the kitchen, doesn't reach the consumer because it gets spoiled before. That's because of insufficient packaging.
Very true.
And sad.
It's sad, and it needs to be addressed. And it makes us sad to see people that are hungry and food that's going to waste. Those systems are going to change quickly. I actually met a guy at Waste Expo who's working on that problem. He's working with local grocery stores to put food that's about to go bad on a sale rack, essentially, which is a website. And, consumers can go to their website and their app and they can say, okay, what's for sale near me? And save a lot of money and save a lot of material a lot of food from going to waste.
That's a good initiative. There's a similar initiative here in the Netherlands with one of the retailers where they said too good to waste. So you can purchase it at a reduced price, but it's of course it's still good after, but best before. It's the debate between best before and use by.
Yeah, the very confusing rules there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Talking about recycling, packaging, recycling is always a big topic when it comes to packaging, of course. Big point of debate is pre-sorting or after sorting. Consumer pre-sorts or the recycler sorts with high automation. What is your point of view on this?
Yeah, I think the short answer is we need both. Here, where I live in the northwest of the USA, we are known for recycling. And we're adopting new laws here that will allow us to recycle things curbside, like soft plastics, PET trays, and those will be turned back into new trays and new plastic material, or possibly downcycled into something like Trex decking for building your house. It's very exciting to see. I think that it becomes a lifestyle, and it's going to take a long time to shift to the larger sort. You look at somebody like Japan, where they are sorting, I think it's 21 items, something amazing on their island, which is just beautiful. And they recycle all of that, to my knowledge. Here, people want to throw it in one bin. It's very difficult. But on that side, I think there's very good news with companies like AMP Robotics, where they are using AI to sort even multi-layer plastics out of the recycling stream, which is really cool. I got to interview them as well, and I think we have some good things coming there.
There's some other great initiatives here like Holy Grail and Curve Code, which also can contribute to that. Because sometimes for a consumer, it's very confusing to know where to recycle what. Right. Certain plastics or bread bags with the window inside. Is this plastic? Is this paper with cellophane? It's confusing. I can understand that. I'm in packaging, but I get confused.
Me too. Yeah, there's a lot to learn every day, for sure.
Yeah. So we all know that money makes the world go round. So sustainability is often unattractive because it costs more, as you referred to in the opening. Do you see a trend where the consumer will be willing to pay for it?
Yes, that's absolutely happening. We're watching that, especially with the younger generation. We're seeing the buying habits change. And there are some challenges there too. There are some misconceptions. Things like plastic shampoo bottle that has a paper box around it. Consumers are saying, oh, well, that's paper, that's more sustainable, when the box is really not necessary. And the item next to it that doesn't have the box is actually more sustainable if you're comparing the two. There's some education that's needed there. Yes, definitely people are changing their habits. Many people are willing to pay a little bit more. But I think the good news is things like refillables will actually be a cost savings for consumers. And things like solid shampoo, like my friends at Dip already, they have a solid shampoo and conditioner bar. That's amazing. And there's no water or plastic. 80 to 90% of many of those cleaning products and personal care products are water. And why are we shipping that to each other? And so we can concentrate those into tablets or liquid concentrates or solid bars. So that's exciting. I'm loving those trends.
I've recently seen a product called Cleaner, in which they had water-soluble pouches with a concentrated powder of cleaning products, which you got through the mailbox. And you put it in a container, you just added the water yourself, and then you could use it to your liking. So that was a very good initiative.
Yeah. Massive reduction in material needed.
Yeah. Do you see any ways that we can reach sustainability when it will be more affordable? Or in other words, do you think sustainable packaging will become more affordable?
Yes, I think as volume increases, costs go down. And so as more companies adopt these new materials and these new concepts, costs will lower. And that's very exciting to see. It's going to be a requirement, with extended producer responsibility laws and all of these things taking place. We're going to suggest legally that these companies change their packaging to more sustainable alternatives.
Now, you mentioned the word EPR, extended producer responsibility. We recently had a panel discussion at Interpack where Vincent Moy of Veolia said we should call this extended consumer responsibility because at the end of the day, the consumer is paying for it.
Very true. Yeah. It all filters through to the consumer. Yeah. And I think it's responsibility of packaging professionals to make that impact as low as possible.
Yeah.
I would really like the next question, and I usually hate to ask it to someone, but I think it wouldn't be more suitable than for you to ask you. What do you think will happen in the next 5 years in the packaging industry? I mean, you have a good overview, so you probably can have a suggestion.
Yeah, I think the next 5 years will be very dramatic. I think there's going to be changes every year, every 6 months, things will update. You're going to see, and I can only really speak from my point of view with my company, Aurora Packaging, what we're working on, things like, our glass production facilities are going to be even more sustainable, lightweighting those bottles. Our aluminum facilities are the same. We're using innovative solutions for power that are much more sustainable. I think you're going to see a lot more ownership put on the producers and a lot more responsibility, like we just talked about, being placed on those people that actually make the materials. And you're going to see some incredible innovations. You're going to see alternatives for polystyrene that are innovative and kind of amazing. Things made out of biomaterials and, kelp and different seaweeds and things. Those are incredible, to the point where the material ends up in the water, it will actually dissolve. I don't think you can do that for every kind of packaging, but a lot of it will be able to degrade if it does end up in the environment. It's exciting.
That sounds perfect. If it will be like that in 5 years.
I hope
or maybe
so.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
So we have reached the end of this episode. Cory, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, just really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having me on. Check out Sustainable Packaging Podcast with Cory Connors and reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm here to connect and help companies improve the sustainability of their packaging. So we're here to help.
Thank you, Cory. This concludes another episode of our podcast, PACKOLUTION. Thanks once again for sharing your experiences and vision with us. Very interesting for us and hopefully also for our listeners. Please stay tuned in this channel for more inspiring episodes of PACKOLUTION with experts in the packaging industry.